Good morning, everybody, and welcome to day two. We are here bringing you the last six players standing, and it will be an exciting day. We have a lot of Zacian decks. They have been performing extraordinarily really well. We had four people playing Zacian in this tournament, and all of them made top 8. One already lost yesterday, so Taketo with his combosation is already out, but we still have Oliver with ADP Zation, we have Azul with combosation, and we have Axel with Zation Malcario. And so I think Zation is by far the best performing deck, except Spiritomb. Because Spiritomb we had 3 players in the tournament and 2 are in winners finals, which means that they will end up in the top 3. So I guess Spiritomb is the big performer of this tournament, but Zacian comes in a close second, doing amazing as well. And we will have the versions of Zacian fight it out amongst themselves, basically for a chance to take on the Spiritombs in the grand finals and losers finals to maybe overcome them. And it will be an exciting couple of matches among the 3 Zacian decks that we still have on the loser side. There's also Aaron Friedman with his Pikachu, Zekrom. And so it will be interesting to see which deck comes out on top of losers, and if it manages, it will have to take over Spiritomb in a best of 3 and then another Spiritomb in a best of 5. So it will certainly not be easy. Sure, if we just had audio. I think we had audio issues. Yeah, I think we just didn't have audio, so sorry about that. I was just talking about the decks that we have in the tournament. We of course have 2 Spiritombs in winners finals, and then we have 3 Zacian variants on the losers side, fighting it out among themselves, alongside Aaron Friedman's Pikachu Zekrom, which was considered best deck in format at the beginning, when in Q3 it dominated quite a lot, but the Zacian variants adapted and kind of bounced back during Q4 and are now doing extremely well as too. So it will be interesting to see which Zacian variant comes out on top, or if Pikachu can manage to overcome them, and then they will face off. They're basically fighting for a chance to overcome Spiritomb in the end, and we already know that there will be one Spiritomb in grand finals and one in losers finals. Yeah. So after after the 4 decks and losers fight it out amongst themselves, they will have a chance to overcome Spiritomb in a best of 3 and then in a best of 5. Marco, what do you think? Which deck is the top contender to make it there and take on the Spiritombs?
I don't know, Philip. I think Zacian has proven itself to be a very reliable deck, and we saw that the matchup against Spiritomb can go either way.
Yeah.
I think overall Zacian was a bit of a surprise in this meta. It's obviously a good card by itself. It has everything you need. It's an amazing attacker. It's a good tank. It's metal type, so you can exploit metal saucers and pans. It's just a good Pokemon, and I really like seeing it going back into the meta. As you said before, Pikarom was a bit the turn down of this tournament because we expected to do much better. But I'm not sure actually. I think every single deck that is here right now, as you said, there's a lot of Zacians, but I think they all have the same possibilities of making it to top. Just by looking at the standings, I'm pretty sure Zacian will eventually reach the grand final.
Yeah, indeed. Aaron made it this far by beating mainly Dragapults, if I remember correctly, and he lost round 1 against Axel, so Zacian, I don't know how good his matchup is, but in general, Pika's actually pretty well equipped to deal with them. And so he will have to overcome Oliver and then another Zacian, so yeah,
definitely. I did spectate the game. The Kim played against Azul. Azul was able to win pretty solidly. Azul had also a bit of luck, I saw, and it just shows how difficult it is for Pikarom to one-shot the Zacian.
Yeah,
because it's always a feel bad moment to to not being able to one-shot
For
the
sure. Azul,
station.
oh yeah, Azul is generally pretty well equipped to fight Pikarom, I think, because unlike most of the others, he's playing the Duskmane Necrozma, which I think is extremely good against Pikachu in general, just because it's so good at softening them up. It ignores resistance, so it can also soften up the Raichu, Alolan Raichu pretty well. And so it's a really good inclusion to combat Pikachu Zekrom, where otherwise you would have a hard time making it through those bulky tag teams with their metal resistance. But yeah, that Duskmane was quite impressive. But yeah, as you mentioned, Kim didn't have the hottest performance, and I was honestly surprised. It might be a testimony to Pika losing its footing in the format.
Yeah, I watched this game. He was both of his opponents were they did draw really really hot off very little cards, and it really came down to a clutch moment because they were all like it was a pretty even match in all of the matches he played. But then he like lost some because of bad luck. But overall, it's just because he was playing a Pikarom deck that was missing a lot of supporters, similar to what he was playing actually at the
Yeah,
which he won with at the Invitational. And of course, that was the downfall. In this type of format, double elimination, of course, you need to be mindful of the of breaking sometimes.
yeah, I saw that he went even lower on his supporter count, only playing 4 draw supporters this time around.
Yeah.
So it might have been a little bit too greedy.
Yeah,
And
but
anyway, yeah,
he had a good run, so
yeah,
whatever.
sure,
But
sure.
overall, yes, as you said, Pickham underperformed, and it was really a surprise to me.
Yep,
It's right now, as you mentioned before, we still have someone in the. It's Aaron that is still
exactly. He's already in the top
running.
6, and yeah, still has, I think, decent, pretty solid odds to make it into losers finals and get into the final 3, and maybe even overcome the Spiritoms. But I think our players are getting ready, so we can shortly get into the game. So first, let's take a quick look at their deck list, starting off with Axel. He's playing the Zacian Malcario list that lately has been popping up, and yeah, it's gotten more popular now. It has been doing pretty well in recent online tournaments, so Axel has brought it as well and is doing really strong here. And
Mhm.
I guess the main advantage is that it's supposedly better against Dragapult and Combosation than the normal
Yeah,
Combosation. So yeah, I think it
exactly.
will be pretty cool to see how it works out against Azul.
I really like the inclusion of the current metal. It's another level of play. The full metal wall changes a lot some matchups, and as well the IPOM. I really really like it. The inclusion. It's a new card actually. Just came out with the I think with the Pikachu and Zekrom
Yeah,
deck. It's a promo. However, yeah, it works really well in case someone brought any any control deck. Unfortunately, I think only one person brought it at the end, and so it wasn't that effective. But it's still a good card. Like if the matchup prolongs for a long time and you're not able to, shake the situation, you can always control the opponent's hand.
yeah, for sure. The deck is in general so disruptive, having those crushing hammers with full metal wall, and then having healing and damage reduction to drain your opponent's resources, that something like an IPOM can certainly come in big. When just getting a few crucial resources can be all it takes to deck your opponent out. So it's a super interesting inclusion. And I think the deck also benefits a lot from Eldegoss V, just because you get,
Indeed.
yeah, more control over and more resources and more control over your resources. So that seems quite powerful, especially against something like Dragapult, where you can use your Malolanus repeatedly when it's already really hard for them to keep up with all the damage reduction. And
Definitely. I
yeah,
think Axel version is a bit, obviously less consistent than
yeah,
Azul, just looking at his list. But Axel list is much more resourceful. I like the inclusion of the crashing hammers, which can change any matchup from one side to another. Also, the four Marnies, they really help you against, going into the Invitational and knowing that there will be very little type of decks. Including these Marnies can better the matchup against some decks that you would not expect and that suffer, for example, from it. I think it will
yeah,
be pretty effective against Azul's version. But yeah,
yeah, we will
I
see.
think the matchup is quite even.
Yeah, they're both. Yeah, I was about to say that he kind of is losing a bit of consistency. He's only playing Freezation. He doesn't play additional Pokemon Search other than Quick Ball. And then he
Yeah,
has stuff like Crushing Hammer that also increases variance. So it's a bit less consistent than the classical comboization that Azul's playing, so I think it will be very interesting to see the two face off against each other and to see how well Lucario Melmetal can actually perform against the normal comboization. The big advantage in this matchup, of course, is that if you have full metal wall and then your opponent's stations can't one-shot yours while you can still one-shot them. So, yeah, you might think that it's easy for Station Malcario if you just get a decent opening and get a full metal wall. But of course, if Combo Station can pull off the combo twice, it can just two-shot your Malcario and knock out a Jirachi. And that will be 6 prizes if you get the combo twice. So, definitely good chances for Azul as well. Yeah, now looking at his list, interesting to note that both players are valuing the Duskmane Necrozma that I already mentioned earlier. Might be one of the reasons why Pikachu has been performing relatively poorly in this tournament, but of course the high prevalence of Spiritomb also didn't help that much. And of course, with 16 players that really fought their way into this Invitational, you're not gonna get an easy time. So it might just be that, yeah, you had somewhat of two bad variants, and then your opponent was just too good to let it slip and took the game that way.
And definitely, Axel also is not playing, for example, the Scamazenta, which I think it would have been really good in this match. We did see, sorry, in this series, we saw a lot of Dragapult, but overall, I think the Crashy Gamers kind of cover for that. And as well, as I mentioned before, he does play a less consistent list. But I'm pretty sure like what would really come down to is how many energies can you hit off the first Intrepid Sword in the game, or how many energy can you discard and Metal Saucer them.
Yeah, for sure. And oh yeah, now it looks like our players are starting to add each other and get into the game. Yeah. As we said, this is now the winners' quarters, I think.
Yes,
Or yeah,
I think
yeah,
this
yeah,
should
yeah.
be. Yeah.
Winners' quarters, and then the both winners of winners' quarters face off in the winners' semis, and they move on to winners' finals, where they meet the loser of the winners' finals. So yeah, it's already getting to really high stakes games, the final phase. And yeah, I'm pretty excited to see two Zacian decks because I think, and especially what I really like about this format is that we are starting to see more of the versatility of Zacian, more of the options. Both of these players have a lot of tricks. I mean, it's still pretty straightforward Zacian, but when they have different side attackers and different approaches to the strategy, and it's not just the classical, yeah, use ADP, attach energy, GX attack, use ultimate ray, take a knockout, win the game. But instead,
Indeed.
they have much more versatile strategies that will certainly, yeah, be more entertaining in my opinion. And I really like that we're getting to see more depth of the Zacian
Exactly.
options. And yeah, now we're
This
getting
is
into the game. Yeah.
you're a pretty stellar start. Let's remember this is the culmination of 2 months of work, 2 months of people playing this fantastic series. Actually, 1 month or something like that. But overall, it shows how much the decks have evolved. We see Zacian that it just suddenly appeared, and there we go. And finally, we have a Zacian Mirror. Here's a pretty
Yeah.
standard start here from Azul.
Azul going
Just
first.
Rachi.
And yeah, Azul going first is of course great since you can get a first free interpret sword, but it can also mean um, that you can struggle to find a Zacian since you don't get an opportunity to play a supporter. But there's the friend ball, and Azul will be getting a Zacian. So yeah,
Indeed,
that's
great.
pretty much all he needs.
Always helpful for pick arm. You can get at the Dene, or if the opponent plays a Jirachi, you can get any of your Pokemons basically that you need. But yeah, Azul starting off pretty well, and what I was talking about before is that if his Intrepid Sword already hits some energies right now, it might be really massive. Because I think the thing that will swift the matchup the most is if Zacian can just snowball. And the biggest card I think Axel can play is the Metal Frying Pan. Metal Frying Pan, and Azul can only counter it with a single copy of Soul Scrapper that he has.
Yeah.
There we go, already an energy. Let's see how many he hits. 1 energy, that's pretty
One
good.
energy. So a great start for Azul, having Vajrachi in the active and already having a Zacian with 2 energy is pretty much perfect. And now
Indeed.
Axel, yeah, has to bounce back. Probably, like, a Zacian opening is already pretty good. With the Metal
Yep.
Frying Pan, it can tank a hit, so that's pretty great. And his
You got my
classical,
heads.
the
Fantastic.
Axel Alvarez special, turn 1 hammerheads.
There you go, discards as well. The 2 Scrapper, I believe Azul only plays 1 escape board, something like that. Also, there could be a second Crushing Hammer. That could really hurt if it's a heads, but it's just gonna be a tails.
Yep.
However, Axel is just chilling, taking his time. There's the Stellar Wish, probably. And I don't think he needs to rush, especially knowing that Azul does not play any defensive tool. He can definitely exploit that and just take his turn to find a boss's orders and eventually take the knockout when Azul is not ready to take it.
For sure, having the station ready with a Metal Frying Pan just makes it so much harder for Azul to get the initiative. And Azul had to bench that Mr. Mime on his first turn, which is not
Yeah.
too great as well. He just needed it to get more Stellar Wishes to find a Zacian. But, of course, taking a knockout on this Jirachi doesn't really mean anything if he doesn't manage to get Jirachi Prism Star as well. So he definitely, yeah, so it's kind of awkward for him to take the initiative already, and Axel is sitting there and preparing to, yeah, to instead go aggressive himself. And he also has this cute iPhone in his hand, which could come in pretty big because Azul has a pretty high amount of cards in his hand.
Definitely. I think that could be the mold breaker in the situation. You don't really need to take the advantage, and taking a single prize is not the best thing. So even the item could, especially if we see an Intrepid Sword this turn,
Exactly.
I believe Azul play here would be, yeah, exactly, fetch a Zacian, Intrepid Sword with that Zacian, and try to set up both of them, which is a fair choice, but obviously it falls right into the item play and forces eventually Azul to take the lead.
Yeah, for sure.
So here's the research, 7 fresh cards. If nothing is played from this hand, it's gonna really hurt. This item, this cute little Pokemon actually might be the game changer.
Yeah, that would be quite exciting to see an iPom actually doing work. But, oh, and there's the Intrepid Sword, so an iPom can now discard 4 cards, I believe.
Yep, this card's down to 5, so exactly 4. And they're also random, so which is, it's not exactly good, but when there are 9 cards in the opponent's hand, you're probably gonna hit something good.
Yeah, of course, now he has the boss's order, so if Axel gets a switching card of this Stellar Wish, which he doesn't, okay, otherwise he could have just gone for the knockout on the Zacian, which
Definitely.
would have been pretty amazing as well, and
yeah, the only play that Azul could have responded to, I mean, the only way that Azul could have responded is if he did if he found the 2 Scrapper and took the knockout of the Zacian. That would be a really tough spot from Axel. So Axel right now has 2 lines of play. He could go, yeah, exactly, the Caramel Metal, set up the Full Metal Wall, possibly bossing boss order, but no, he just decides to go for the Malon Lana this turn. Which is fair, he didn't have a way to retreat.
The Full Metal Wall for 1 energy is pretty fair in this matchup.
Yeah.
The energy discard thought's nice, but not super impactful.
Yeah, exactly. This card can really work if there's only 1 Zacian set up and it's in the active, while Azul is chilling. He's just taking his time and just, I think Azul right now is looking in a better spot because of that Mr. Mime. So we'll really see how this can evolve, because right now the match is still open.
I don't know. I think having Mr. Mime on the bench is pretty awkward for Azul, because now he's already used 2 scoop up nets but haven't done anything yet. Okay, now he got the combo.
Yeah, now he's rich.
At least once, but he will need both his scoop up nets to do it again.
Yeah.
And he only has 2 left, and he does need the combo twice, otherwise the matchup will be really hard for him. And then he will also need multiple bosses orders, since Axel will very likely switch with Mercari out of the active.
Yeah.
So, yeah, being able to stabilize this early on and being able to take the initiative has been quite powerful for Axel.
The Full Metal Wall just makes the Zacian super tanky, and the best thing about this is that even if now Azul has a 2 Scrapper, the Zacian still doesn't get knocked out because of Full Metal Wall. I think the best line of play right now for Azul is to try to chip away some damage on this Caramel Metal.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially since he has the other Zacian set up. and eventually maybe draw 4 prizes of the Lucario Metal, which you would need to 2-shot anyway, and then maybe try to boss order the Jirachi in the bench and take the knockout.
Yeah, exactly. However, Azul's not playing any Metal Frying Pan, so that is kind of unfortunate for him in this matchup. That makes it so much easier for Axel to take the knockouts on his stations. No, usually you'd have to find the one of tool scrapper to get rid of the tools, and then you could get the knockouts, and if you whiffed it, then it would be a huge swing for for the conversation, since it can take extra prizes while you
Yeah,
while you wouldn't take extra prizes and you would just sit there two-shotting each other.
indeed, indeed.
Yeah.
And Azul looking in a pretty sweet spot, looking strong with those freezations already in the bench. And the only thing is that he will need to free up a spot
Yeah,
if he wants to do the Jirachi thing.
Ooh, I was about to say, I think if Axel finds a switching card, he would be in a pretty good spot, but now that Axel whiffed the switch, this means that the Lucario Metal will sit in the active not doing anything, which is certainly not great.
Indeed, and it's pretty sad to not find it here, because then it would be completely another different game. But right now, it's just really, really good for Azul, because he's gonna probably just switch, get the other station, and that's gonna be a knockout on the Lucario Metal.
I think the board state is still fine for Axel though. Like, the knockout on the Mercario doesn't do that much, since he can't get the combo this turn unless he finds a third scoop up net.
Yeah, I don't think he needs the combo this turn. However, he can just leave the Jirachi.
Yeah, but then just the knockout on the Mercario, that's 3 prizes, then another knockout on the Jirachi, but then he still needs to two-shot Azation. While
yeah, he needs to shoot the Azation, but he would have needed to involve the 2 attacks anyway onto the Lucario Metal. Right now, he has it for free.
Yeah, but
so he does have some extra resources.
Yeah, but if he doesn't get the combo twice, then he still needs 4 attacks to finish off the game, and Axel only needs 3 attacks. So
Axel of course, Axel
is still ahead, even if Azul gets the knockout here, and as long as he doesn't get the combo.
Definitely. Under that point, definitely he is in the leading spot.
Yeah, and even if Axel were behind, I think he generally has the advantage in the trade, because it's so much easier for him to stream attacks than it is for Azul, since Azul's stations are gonna get knocked out, and then there's energy disruption as well. So
exactly.
So it's kind of
the Full Metal Wall is really the game changer here. There's no Pokemon Ranger effect anymore in the meta. There's only Channel, but it's not doing the same thing. So really nothing that Azul can do except just to play right into Axel line of play. And I think as long as Axel is able, as you say, to streamline these stations and set another one, or maybe even 2, then he's completely fine.
Yeah, for now, of course, he only has 1 station, so if he doesn't manage to get a second one, then it might get awkward for him eventually. But yeah, as of now, he's ahead in the price trade, and it will be easier for him to keep attacking as compared to Azul, because of course, Axel just needs to set up 1 more station, and then he's set for the game, and Azul still needs to set up the 3rd one, because those 2 are gonna get knocked out, and he doesn't want to lose after getting knocked out twice.
Also, Axel is having some trouble to find his switching cards. So that Jirachi doesn't have a board attached to it. I don't think we've seen a single switch, if not the Malo and Lana this game. Okay, there we go. As soon as I talk about it.
And there's the skateboard as well.
Yep. There's the busted main Crossmat with a dash shot, which however does not work against V Pokemon. So the second attack is not that bad. It just deals 200 in damage, but if you have Zacian, it just does the same thing. If you have 1 prize left, so whatever. There's a Marnie as well, trying to disrupt the hand, but oh my god, that hand is not looking great. Does have a quick pull on the Marnie for next turn.
Yeah, I think it's pretty fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
He has Azation now, he has the attachment, that's basically all he needs.
Now, even a Metal Tosser. Fantastic then.
Yeah. Having used the switch is a bit awkward for him, but he still has 2 switch left in his deck, so that's totally fine. And he can even still retreat. Yeah, actually, it's fine, since now that he has another Zation, he can just retreat into the Zation, and he doesn't really need his switches anymore. So even if he doesn't get a switch next turn, he's totally fine. And now it's really painful that Azul doesn't have Metal Frying Pans of his own. Axel's Tool Scrapper is even gone already, so a Metal Frying Pan would have a huge impact on the price trade. But
Dude, Metal Frying
yeah,
Pan is a card that I absolutely enjoy. I would play actually two in this version because it just makes your Zation so strong and so hard to deal with. Also, it removes the weakness against Blacephalon, which can be relevant sometime. And of course, in this matchup, absolutely great card, especially considering Axel discarded
yeah,
his two scrapper. Right now, that would be an absolute game changer.
yeah. However, of course, Azul now getting his another metal saucer, so he's powering up his third Zation, and of course, if he gets both Zation, if he gets this Zation powered up and finds the boss's order to pull up Axel's damaged Zation after this turn, then he can, yeah, then he's still ahead in the price trade because of course he only needs to attack twice and not 3 times after this. So
Exactly.
yeah. So Azul
So there we
actually
go.
in the lead as long as he manages to set up free Zation this game.
Let's see if my theory about the Marnis being effective against Azul actually pay off. He does have two Jirachis available to him. But there's even a scoop up net. It's already one part of the combo for it. So there's not gonna be another one of the Jirachi combo being played. Azul is just
Yeah.
taking his time and deciding I will take the knockout on the Zation and draw the prize with the Jirachi Prism.
Okay, and now Azul has another Zation and he definitely has the Jirachi Prism Star in his prizes since earlier he used Oranguru plus Mr. Mime. So he pretty much has everything he needs for game.
Yeah, he has it as
Yeah,
well. He has 7 cards left.
yeah, and now he could even put the boss's order on top of his deck, so I think there's now
Yeah,
nothing that Axel can do anymore. Except,
indeed.
yeah, he can still hit Crushing Hammerheads maybe. But yeah, he doesn't play Reset Stamp, which I really dislike, because I think in this format, if you only rely on Mani as disruption, it's so easy to outplay by using Primate Wisdom and putting the
Definitely,
important
and
pieces on
in the
top.
late game, these decks have usually like 10 cards left in the deck, and that is exactly what I was talking about before. I think Azul was in the upper lead because
Oh yeah, true.
he played it very well since the beginning. He set up the Zations since the early game, and he was really mindful about the fact that late game probably came down to the Jirachi Prism in the prizes.
Yeah, true.
Obviously, we're assuming that there was the Jirachi Prism being put
Yeah, and
in the prizes.
that switch with earlier in the turn where the
Yeah,
Notaro
that
stuck
really,
active
really hurt.
was actually, yeah, after
So
all
there's a
the
crashing
side
hammer.
effect. So yeah, a slight glimmer of hope, but if Azul just has an energy, that's gonna be an easy game anyways. And he still has Sorcerer left in his 10 card deck, so he's very likely to just have game in hand already. And now Axel still using a Stellar Wish, however not
That's fine, the
to do.
frying pan, but does not really change the fact that
Yeah.
Zation has 200 damage on it. But yeah, of course, use all your resources, try to get the best out of the situation. And yeah, even a Primate Wisdom, maybe he does find something, but no, it's just a switch. We know his list, we know there's not much he can do. And as long as Azul put the boss's orders on the top of the deck, and has also an energy,
Yeah.
he got this game in the bag.
Yeah, I think he still has Metal Saucer, so he should most likely just get it with Stellar Wish if he doesn't have it in his hand already. But yeah, where he has it, Energy, Boss's Order.
As a boss order. Excellent play here by Azul. Obviously a very experienced player and probably thought about this, about the
Yeah,
mining
true.
possibility. So yeah, props to him. Very well played by him. And let's actually see the Jirachi Prism. Yeah, there we go. Wish upon a star. It's gonna take the last prize. And we're
Yeah.
gonna make him win.
Yeah, so yeah, I was counting Azul's path to victory wrong earlier, of course, when I claimed he'd need to take a knockout on the Jirachi. And so he was ahead in the price trade after all, and Axel didn't manage to, yeah, bounce back after he whiffed that switch. And it makes me wonder if going for that full metal wall was the correct play there.
Yeah.
Because just having whiffed the switch afterwards already put him in a really bad spot.
Yeah, he kind of
So,
gambled
yeah.
on the fact that he would draw the switch.
Exactly.
When I looked at it, I thought
Uh,
like maybe he knew there were like 4 switches in the deck,
Yep.
and he was gonna draw
And
it.
if he
But
had if he had just gone for the IPOM, if he had hit either the Jirachi Prism Star or the Tool Scrapper, that probably would have been the game. And even if he
definitely.
hit neither of those with the IPOM, just discarding a couple of resources, could have been better. So
Yeah.
I'm not
And
I'm not sure about that play. I think the
yeah, he
IPOM,
couldn't have gone
yeah,
to either way, but there we go. We're starting off, and wow, look at Axel hand. It's not looking great. It's forced to bench the Eldragoss, because otherwise he probably would have been donked by Azul if he finds everything.
Yeah,
But
that
wow,
hand.
Duskmane Necrozma and Eldragoss on the field on turn 1. Nothing you want to see.
Yeah, that hand is really terrible. Yeah, so this looks like after game one, where it was really close, but in the end, Axel fell a bit behind and Azul was just too consistent in executing this game plan. It looks like Axel will fall to the lower consistency of his deck and just get, yeah, perhaps overrun by Azul here.
Indeed. There we go.
Yeah.
There's the Intrepid Sword, already 2 energies on that station. Maybe Axel actually could be able to just turn this around. That's a Hammerhead. Turn 2 actually. The Axel Alvarez special.
Yeah.
Even a quick ball.
Azul
So
also not
maybe
having the greatest hand,
no, definitely
but
not. I would like
so
to
that,
see an
yeah.
iPhone play maybe here. Just something try to slow down Azul. Not try to, make a step too big. Cause well, actually, that's fine the Metal Saucer, but we should have found Chew and the Switch if we wanted to attack with that. Let's see what he's able to pull off. There's even an Oranguru.
Yeah, so Oranguru always great in combination with Station. And yeah, now he might be able to take the initiative. Also finds the switch for the next turn. So yeah, next turn he can get a knockout on Versation and Mani if Azul doesn't get going. But of course, just having, if Azul is able to find a supporter of a Stellar Wish, I think he's gonna be in a really comfortable spot because that Eldegoss on the board really hurts Axel. If he just gets the knockout on the Macaria and then the knockout on the Eldegoss plus the combo, that's a really, really easy path to victory.
I'm looking at Azul hand right now, and it's absolutely horrifying. Absolutely horrifying. And he does have a lot of. He has 3 Metal Saucers, I believe. 2 Scoop Up Nets. So nothing that he can really use in this situation. Of course, he could set up the Zacian this turn, but I don't think that taking a knockout on the Duskmane Necrozma does anything for him. If anything, it's hindering. So he just needs to hope for Axel to actually pull a Marnie. So there we go.
Yeah.
Intrepid. He actually decides to go just for an Intrepid Sword, taking his time.
Yeah, no, once again, it would be cool to see an IPOM coming down.
Definitely. I absolutely love the card, and I would love to see it right now. Like, it's the perfect spot. If this Acrobike maybe takes a quick pull or anything, unfortunately, no. Actually, this Acrobike discovers a Metal Frying Pan, which I'm not sure Axel would be too keen in discarding it.
Yeah, but I think he can just go for research and try to find his IPOM that way. It's of course a bit greedy to leave Azul with a 10 card hand. And it would also leave Axel with a pretty weak board. But yeah, just the money doesn't really do too much. I guess just going for money is pretty much the safer play.
Primate Wisdom putting out the research, I do like this. Unfortunately, it does have a switch, but he didn't want to draw it anyway.
Yep.
So there's a Metal Saucer and other useless card. The best thing he could do is probably Lucarian Metal, but he misses the energy in the discard. So he's like between a rock and a hard place, I would say.
And Station finding 2 metal energies, but it's absolutely useless.
Yeah, actually he helped a lot here, Azul, by giving him this Marnie, definitely refreshing his hand. Obviously, it was mathematically the best choice to remove as many cards from the opponent's hands, and I think this will be the better play in the long run. However, of course, it's pretty scary here because while Axel can rely on this Metal Frying Pan, if the Lucarma Metal does not come at the right spot, then Azul can just take a surprise knockout with the Tool Scrapper. And it can really stop Axel plans in its tracks.
Yeah, for sure.
So there we go. Research quick ball. Let's see what it actually grabs in this situation. It was forced to bench the Mr. Mime.
Yeah, I think he just put down the Mr. Mime, so he has easy access to it with Scoop Up Net.
Yeah, Scoop Up Net, what a card! Absolutely fantastic, especially in this situation in which you're not exactly forced to play any recycling effect for your Pokemons. So you can just use the Scoop Up Net and put them in the bench and then pick them up. But you can also use Scoop Up Net as a switching card. So great card overall. Really happy to see it. And wow, another Metal Saucer. Very saucy hand.
Axel's hand not looking great at all. Probably will just have to go for full Metal Wall once again, but this of course puts him in a not great spot at all. Since he knows that Azul can just attack him, Azul already has 2 Zacian almost ready to go, and then just 2-shotting with Macario and 1-shotting the Eldegoss is just such an easy win condition for Azul that it might be worth it just foregoing the Macario and hoping that Azul doesn't get his Tool Scrapper.
He could just bench the Melcario and set it up to have the full effect of full Metal Wall. Try to basically remove a Zacian from the board, because reinvesting 3 energies on the same Zacian is pretty hard. With a Boss Orders, maybe the next turn. So I wouldn't mind seeing that. Maybe a Marnie this turn, because his hand is looking pretty bad. But yeah, I think Axel is in a pretty fine spot, but decides actually to not bench the Lucario Metal.
Yeah, and I think that seems like the right approach. And now, of course, he found a Zacian without a Metal Frying Pan, so he's kind of inclined not to put it down, but he needs to develop his board.
The energy drop is one of the better, the safest way for a Zacian deck to set up, and we still don't have any Mold Breaker at this situation. It's just going back and forth between the players, just setting themselves up. But I think if Axel follows Azul game plan, it would be actually Azul that will come up on top, because this is exactly what Azul wants. Azul just wants to set up his deck. Does not have any particular advantage if not the Jirachi Prism. So yeah, Azul is very fine with this. He's just enjoying his time.
Yeah, generally, however, Axel doesn't really get any advantage from taking a knockout on the Jirachi, so...
Definitely.
And so yeah, it's basically who can find a boss order and get a meaningful knockout first. And yeah, as you said, in the meantime, Azul is setting up pretty nicely and getting himself in a really comfortable spot. Yeah, and Axel is playing 3 bosses order, but wasn't able to find it yet. If he could just find that and take a knockout on that 3 energization, that would be pretty nice for him, taking the initiative and taking so many energies off the board. And that could maybe lead in a late game situation where full Metal Wall comes into play after all. But now Azul also getting the combo ready.
Also, that's 2 Zacian's Prime and ready, and just goes for the Brave Blade here. It's fine to take a prize here, since you can always rely to that Jirachi Prism.
Yeah, exactly.
That it's gonna fix up your prizes.
Yeah, now his plan is to just take a knockout on an Eldegoss, a Zacian, and use the combo once. And yeah, so now that's pretty nice for Azul.
Wisdom once again, and Zacian gone back on top. Don't really need the 3rd one, I would say, in this situation. You could, but since your bench is so flooded right now, pretty tough. Very interesting that he does not play not even maybe 1 or 2 copies of the Scoop Up Nets.
Yeah, but I mean, his deck's not really built around it and needs a lot of other cards.
Definitely.
Crushing Hammerhead's definitely very impactful. It's the 2nd one already, and it prevents Azul from getting his 3rd Zacian out quickly. So if Axel is able to take another knockout on a Zacian next turn, then Azul might struggle to get up the 3rd in time. And yeah,
Crushing Hammer is a card that when it hits at the correct timing, it's absolutely awesome. But even if it hits in the late game and just discards an energy, it just sets back your opponent 1 turn. It's a very fine card, and it can really change these matchups that don't really have a clear winner since the beginning. There's even a Metal Saucer, and the Professor Research decides to discard the Dene. We need to use it this game.
Yeah. And the Metal Saucer, I think... I'm not really sure how many he has used yet. And there's the Tool Scrapper. Oh, the big find. And
discarding 2 Metal Frying Pans. Axel was not able to put 1 before and the other one later in the game, because he found 1 from the Acrobike earlier.
Ooh,
so yeah, there is even another Metal Saucer.
Double Saucer. energy and a tool scrapper, so everything that he needs. Now he can use the
Yeah.
combo, draw 3 prizes, and then he's he has 2 Zacian basically ready to go and
Yep.
just needs 1 more knockout. And Axel at this point is also out of metal frying pans, and he has a very bad hand, so right now would be the time to find the Macario for him, probably. Yeah, the Macario would at least do something, leaving
Yeah.
Azul with Zacian without energies in the active and making it harder. But if Axel just takes the knockout with this Zacian, that would mean that that Azul just needs 1 energy to win the game. So
Exactly. So decides to go for the Jirachi play right now with a wish upon a star. It's fine. I don't think it would have changed much, whether he did it now or later. The only thing I know is that I think he has 1 boss orders already in the discard. So he just has 1 left, and maybe Axel can exploit this. Maybe a Lucario Manuel play this turn could actually be the way to go.
finds the quick ball here, so that's a start. So he can at least find his Macario now. And
Ibum goes
then,
bye-bye. Did
yeah,
not have
however,
the show we were expecting from it.
that's interesting.
A
I
bit
was
of
thinking that he
messy
needs.
ordering
Yeah,
here.
I was thinking that he needs to like prime it wisdom and hope that he hits like either metal saucer or a supporter,
Yeah,
but instead he just goes for the switch right away.
just goes for it. He does
And
find it
yeah,
glitch luckily, but there's a
and
boss
that's the
order,
game.
so no matter.
Azul now, yeah, destroying everything he needs. And yeah, the consistency was really able to get him ahead in this match.
Just
Axel,
draw everything you need,
yeah,
and but it's really a reflection of Azul's deck. Very solid, very clean as well. Does not play cards such as Crashing Hammers, which obviously
yeah,
can change a whole match. But if you just want to go for safe and just want to rely entirely on your skill and preparation for the meta, I would say Azul is definitely the deck list for you.
yeah, certainly a very powerful deck. And with the consistency was just able to overtake Axel. I think IPOM, if it had come into play in either game 1 or game 2, it would have been a huge swing. So I think that could have been very well the difference maker. I think both times when Axel would have wanted or did have access to the IPOM, Azul had the Jirachi Prism Star in hand. So if he just had hit that, that would have been, of course, a huge impact on the game. But like this,
Naturally,
yeah. But like this, Axel was not able to find the boss's order early on, which yeah, was kind of awkward for him. He just had to sit there and use this inhabit swords repeatedly, and
yeah.
Azul was
I
just able
think
to
both
set up
players
stations.
played at the top of their abilities, and they were both 2 very skilled players. The only thing it was just the decks who made the major differences. Axel version was a bit more reliant on drawing certain cards a certain part of the games, and maybe the IPOM, as you said, could have been the real game saver here. Discarding Ajirachi Prism or the Mr. Mime would just be a nail in the coffin for Azul's strategy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Axel played a bit too much into Azul's comfort zone.
Yeah, I think
And
the problem is that even though it doesn't seem like this, I think this might be a matchup where Melcaria has to go relatively aggressive, in that
yeah,
if it just gives the conversation too much time, it's gonna lose out, because it's about if the conversation can set up freezation, and Azul was able to do that both times. And yeah, Axel just didn't draw the cards to go aggressive with. He didn't get boss's order in time in game 2, and yeah, he didn't get aggressive options in game 1 either, and Azul was just able to set up too much. So they ended up in the stalemate situation where both use Interpret Sword repeatedly, and of course IPOM really comes to shine in those situations. So Axel not being able to find it or not opting to find it might have been a pretty big influence, and of course his deck being a bit less being a bit less consistent, and also having to play more aggressively in this matchup, I think, just yeah, made it a bit awkward for him. And Azul came out on top here and moves on into winners semis. So
indeed, and as well,
yeah,
also Axel. I think he positioned himself 6th, correct?
fifth technically. So there's two
Oh,
fifth
okay, of
places.
course.
Yeah,
So well played to him as well.
yeah, it's a very strong
Winning,
finish.
I believe, the top 8 Ultra Pro pack, and I think $40 as well with the
Yeah, I think
PCA
actually even
voucher.
a bit more. The price
Even a
will
bit more
still be
because of the
increased
yeah, yeah,
because of donations and TCG players.
indeed.
So
So also thanks everybody that is supporting the stream, and thanks everybody also that played. Congratulations to Axel, congratulations to Azul.
Yeah. So Azul moves on, as we said. Great performance from Axel as well. And we will move on to our next winners quarters with Aaron Friedman and facing off against Oliver Rohin. Yeah, to see if ADP or P can move on to face Azul in the winners semis. But first we will go to a quick break and we will be back